Hello and welcome to The Last Word. If there's one subject that's dominated the day, it's the debate and vote on FDI and retail in the Lok Sabha. But has it cleared the way forward or simply muddied the tracks for the future? That's the subject tonight. My guests are Congress spokesman and MP PC Chacko, BJP Treasurer and MP Piyush Goyal, CPI National Secretary and MP D. Raja, and the opinion page editor of the Financial Express, Sunil Jain. Gentlemen, let's start with the big picture before we come to some of the important points made in the debate today. Mr. Chacko, you may have won the vote, but if people had actually voted in accordance with the way they spoke, you would have lost 282 to 224. So do you really have a mandate from the Lok Sabha to pursue FDI and retail?
In fact, Karanji, this issue does not need a vote in Parliament. That has been our original position. At the same time, a detailed discussion on this issue was necessary. So, from the very beginning, there was a twist, a political twist for the whole issue. That is why those who spoke against this issue also did not participate in the voting. But our constitutional requirement is that we have a majority in the House for the government to continue and carry out this program. So we have every right to do that. This picture was even known to people even before the voting. So there is nothing new or surprising about it.
Piyush Goyal, let me add to the point just made there by Mr. Chacko by pointing out that at the end of the day, it's not the content of the debate that counts, it's the vote. And the vote went decisively both for the motion and for the rules in the government's favour by 30 votes or more. Clearly, therefore, the Lok Sabha has endorsed FDI in retail. You can't deny that.
Well, on a constitutional basis, as Mr. Chacko has said, nobody is denying it. It's a technical victory. Our leader has acknowledged that it's only a technical victory. But look at the morality behind that victory. They have got less than 272 votes, and not by a small margin, by a margin of 18 votes. Very clearly, the 40 MPs whose leaders on the floor of the House opposed FDI, but chose to walk out for extraneous reasons which are not in public domain, probably to bargain something for themselves, for their CBI cases or whatever.
Can I, with your permission, interrupt? You're saying that they've got less than 272, and that's undeniable. But they've got way more than 50% of the 470 who voted. And technically, it's a majority of those who voted that counts. Therefore, in parliamentary terms, they've got an endorsement, and this question of morality is extraneous to politics.
Well, I'm not denying that they have won the technical victory. So we are not on the issue of whether FDI will prevail in the country or no in multi-brand retail. So that issue is separate. On the technical ground, they have won the victory. But clearly, the whole world has seen the drama being played out. We heard Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav outside Parliament after he had walked out, once again endorsing his stand that this is anti-farmer, anti-small retailer. But I have walked out because it is anti-farmer, anti-small retailer. So very clearly there are extraneous reasons. One court case has been filed only today and admitted in High Court against Ms. Mayawati in the Taj Corridor case. There's so much overwhelming evidence to show that the people of the country do not want FDI. They have been able to secure the mandate of states which are less than 162 MPs in Parliament.
Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. You've had a fair chance to make your point. Let me stop you there. I want to bring in Mr. Raja because I want to pursue this morality issue with him. Mr. Raja, as I said a moment ago to Mr. Goyal, as far as democratic parliamentary requirements are concerned, the government had a sizable majority. The Lok Sabha has endorsed FDI in retail, yet your party has made it clear, both through Prakash Karat as well as Sitaram Yechury, that you will now take this fight, if you lose it in Parliament, to the streets. What sort of morality emerges from that? Because that is disrespect to Parliament.
Definitely, the government won the vote today. It is not with a sizable majority. With a slender margin, the government won the vote. Considering the tone and tenor of the debate, I understand the overwhelming sense of the House was against government's decision to allow FDI in multi-brand retail trade sector. That's what I understand. That is why I think whatever the government won, it is not a very spectacular win for government. It is a huge moral defeat for the government.
That's a question of interpretation, but the point I was asking was a different one. Sitaram Yechuri and Prakash Karat say that you will take this fight onto the streets. What is the morality of that? Because that is defiance of a verdict given by Parliament, which even if you don't like it, is still Parliament's verdict.
The Parliament verdict, but it doesn't stop us fighting on the streets, because we have a position. We have been consistent in fighting against these neoliberal policies pursued by Congress-led UPA 2 government.
Okay.
We might have lost in vote, but it doesn't stop us fighting on the streets, mobilizing the people.
All right, that is certainly your position.
Decision.
I'll simply point out that many will think that that is a peculiar defiance of Parliament you think is justified. Let me bring up a slightly different issue with you, Sunil Jain. What did emerge today is that critical parties like the TMC, the BJD and the TDP voted on the same side as the BJP. Do you see here the beginnings of a new political alignment that should worry the UPA as it looks to 2014, or is this being an overestimation and an overreading?
I think the UPA in any case needs to be worried, because there are a lot of states in which they are not in power, so they need to be worried, period. But I think if you look at the voting that happened, this is tactical voting on a lot of people's side, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I'll just make one larger point here. I don't think the issue here is about morality and stuff like that. Morality demands that you let Parliament function. For years, Parliament has not functioned, so let's not get into morality.
Morality can therefore go both ways.
Yeah, the important thing here is that the Government of India promised FDI and retail to investors, and the Government of India cut a deal and made it happen. That's all that matters.
All right. Gentlemen, let's come now from the big picture to some of the specific points made in the debate today. To begin with, Mr. Chacko, Kapil Sibal yesterday argued that because 35 to 40% of agricultural produce is wasted and never sold, FDI in retail would be a huge benefit to Indian farmers. But Murli Manohar Joshi, quoting your government's own documents in great detail, showed that in fact the amount wasted in many instances is as little as 4 and 5%. The highest figure seems to be 10%. So has Kapil Sibal got his facts completely wrong?
Currently, it is not like that, I come from a state where whether it is mango or jackfruit or any fruit, seasonal fruits, more than 50% is being wasted. So where from Mr. Joshi?
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you? Dr. Joshi, yeah, with specific reference to mango, actually put the figure at 4 or 5%. And I think with specific reference to jackfruit, it was clearly under 10%. Both of those were figures he quoted today. So I come back to my point. Where does 35% come from?
I want to tell you that, that is not correct. The seasonal fruits, which within 2 months it gets ripe, and the whole thing is there is no collection mechanism, it is going waste. More than 50% is going waste. This is our daily experience,
Okay.
And there is no system of collecting it, preserving it, processing it, and without that, the farmers are losing a huge amount of money. Merely statistics quoted from somewhere will not satisfy the problem. The farmers know that their produce are being wasted.
All right, I'll let you say that your belief is that huge amounts are wasted. It's just that government figures are being quoted by Dr. Joshi. But let me bring you in at this point, Mr. Goyal. Sushma Swaraj, in her speech yesterday, made a great point about how middlemen, far from being villains, act as ATMs and benefactors for small farmers in their hour of need. And I put it to you that she seems to have forgotten the point that Dipinder Singh Hooda made today, that when middlemen loan money to farmers, they don't do it on trust, they do it on the basis of interest, and that is pretty swingingly high interest, which ends up causing huge problems for farmers. So I put it to you, did Sushma Swaraj misunderstand and get the point terribly wrong?
No, I think my dear friend Dipinder, much as he claims to come from a farming family and a farming state, has probably over the years strayed away, because the people, the aditiyas and the retailers in the value chain of the farm to fork value chain as it exists today, they actually lend money against the crop, not on interest. The aditiyas usually lend money for seeds, for fertilizer, and to help the farmer to actually produce the goods. I do not think that is the same money lending which Mr. Dipender Hooda referred to. That is a completely different consumption-led money lending, which is at high usurious rates of interest. Actually, I find that the traders in the small villages and small towns have a very beautiful relationship with the farmers' families, where they actually integrate with each other. Their problems, their sorrow, their joy, everything is shared with each other.
I'll let you have the last word on that particular point. All I'll do is to point out that no one before has actually described middlemen as if they were actually guardian angels, which is very close to what you're doing. Now, D. Raja, your party's leader on the floor of the Lok Sabha, Gurudas Das Gupta, complained that FDI in retail would have a shattering impact on small corner shops and on employment in the retail industry. Let me quote you the example of China, which between 1992, when it introduced FDI in retail, and 2001, saw employment in retail go up from 28 million to 54 million, which is almost a 100% increase. And the number of corner shops increased from 1.9 million to 2.5 million. If you can have that in China, why on earth can't you have it in India? And has Gurudas Das Gupta therefore been presenting arguments that simply don't hold up?
Exactly, it is true with China, and we will have to understand a couple of things when we talk about China. And China has a very huge domestic retail network, retail sector, and it is very huge, number one. Number two, China is one country which has a very efficient low technology manufacture and medium technology manufacture. Even in America, you can get made in China goods. So Chinese economy is quite strong, and Chinese economy can afford to stomach all these things. And that is why they allowed foreign direct investments in China. But in case of India, the situation is not the same. And we will have to look at India and from our position. That's what we try to say. And where are the laws and legislations in place to protect the domestic retail sector? And if you talk about
let me stop you there. I can't let you give me a general answer to everything. I was giving a chance to answer specifically about China. You've given your answer on China.
Final word with you.
You've given your answer on China, and basically what you're saying about China is that in many ways China is not just different but better than India, which is why the Chinese experience won't replicate in India. Let me put this to you, Sunil Jain. The interesting thing that emerged is that in 2000, when the NDA government was pushing for FDI in retail, Congress was against it. Dr. Manmohan Singh himself was against it. Now, roughly 12 years later, Congress is pushing and NDA is against it. Is this just politics that determines where people stand rather than principle, conviction and commitment?
Absolutely. You know, where you stand, I mean, where you sit decides where you stand. You're absolutely right. I think there are, a couple of points, in response to what the other guys have been saying. One, as far as what Piyush has said, I must say that I'm very, very happy because I'm a Banya and Artiya is a Banya. Then if you can actually describe an Artiya as a friend of the farmer, he's taking about 10% of their money up front for a job which takes 5 minutes. So if he's a friend of the farmer, I feel very, very good as a Banya, but I think it's completely untrue. These guys are working against the farmer. I'm very surprised that the BJP is actually supporting them. On the issue of employment, I think that's critical, the point that you made. If you look at Easy Day, which is what Bharti runs, I was talking to Rajan Mittal the other day, and he said that he employs 19 people for a 2,500 square feet shop, which means that modern retail is actually more employment intensive than a lot of the kirana shops.
Which means that in fact employment will increase, not decrease.
You will not have a decrease.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break at that point and come back and look to the future, because there's a second critical debate beginning tomorrow in the Rajya Sabha where the numbers don't look quite as easy for the government and the opposition may well be smiling about what could be the outcome there, which may be very embarrassing for Dr. Manmohan Singh. Is that really going to be the case? That's the question we asked. Join us after the break to find out the answer. Welcome back to The Last Word. We're discussing the debate on FDI in retail. Gentlemen, let's look to the debate that's going to happen tomorrow in the Rajya Sabha and the vote that follows there on Friday. In many senses, Mr. Chakot, that is a much more difficult situation for the government, where the numbers prima facie are stacked against you. Are you confident of winning, or are you actually secretly nervous even if you won't admit it?
In fact, about Rajya Sabha, it's known to all that, government do not have a majority in the Rajya Sabha. In a house of 244, we are less than 100. But here is a situation that the whole thing has become a political debate. Not that, this issue or this basic issue is being debated. So the purpose of the whole debate is to embarrass the government or to defeat the government. The straightforward thing would have been accept the no confidence motion, but that they did not.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you, Mr. Chacko? When you say that this has become an attempt to defeat and embarrass the government, are you also bringing yourself around to saying that in the Rajya Sabha you will be both defeated and embarrassed? Is that what you're coming around to accept?
Now what I want to say is that because it has turned out to be a political debate, parties will take decision in the political angle. They know that, the issue is debated, issue is well known to all. The plus and minus is before the people now. So then, whether it is to be, this government is to be embarrassed or not, political parties will take their own decision. There are many parties whose opinion is yet to be known. So let us wait for tomorrow's outcome.
Absolutely, and it's not very long to wait. At the most, it's only 48 hours. But Piyush Goyal, your leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, who's also a very close friend of yours, Arun Jaitley, today publicly said that he suspects that the government and its supporting parties plan to disrupt the Rajya Sabha so as not to allow a debate, or more importantly, not to allow the vote. What's Arun Jaitley's basis for making this very serious allegation?
Karan, as you have seen in the last 4 days, one day the Samajwadi disrupts, the other day the BSP disrupts, one day the DMK has disrupted. Very clearly we have seen in the last 3 or 4 days, ever since the
but Mr. Goyal, did not the BJP disrupt the houses before that on this question of forcing a debate on FDI and retail under a particular rule? You've done your share of disrupting too, so why does the disruption lead to your allegation?
Karan, in this session, not a single day my members have gone into the well of the house. These parties which are supporting the UPA have actually dictated that the house gets adjourned every day. Even after the FDI debate was accepted by the government, the last 3 days they have not allowed the house to function. It clearly shows the government has given up hope of winning in the Rajya Sabha, and therefore they are probably trying to do a repeat of what they did in the Lokpal bill, where they manipulated the house, created disruptions. But I'll just we are not trying to embarrass the government. We are only trying to express the will of the people, and the will of the people is largely against FDI. It's not a political debate. It's not a money thing.
Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. The will of the people at the end of the day is expressed by the vote as well as by the content of speeches, and the vote unfortunately went against you in the Lok Sabha. It could go against you in the Rajya Sabha as well. So be careful. That judgment of the will of the people could well be by the vote rather than by speeches. But let me bring you in, Mr. Raja, and there's a different point I want to raise with you. Sitaram Yechuri on this program yesterday said that the critical vote is going to be the vote on the amendment to the FEMA rules. And he says that you might see 4 votes, 2 in the Lok Sabha, 1 in the Rajya Sabha, and 1 again in the Lok Sabha. And provided the Lok Sabha continues to vote the way it did today, and there's every reason to believe that will happen, then the FEMA changes will go through and FDI is fine. So are you prepared to accept that reality?
We are prepared to accept the reality. At the same time, we are trying to express our position clearly in clear terms. The FEMA rules which were tabled in the Lok Sabha, they are yet to be tabled in Rajya Sabha. Actually, the government should have tabled simultaneously in both the houses. That apart, now tomorrow we want the house should function and debate should take place on the question of FDI and multi-brand retail trade. That's what we are
absolutely hoping. And we all endorse that hope. But very quickly, it looks as if, at least on the issue of FEMA rules, the whole process could continue into the budget session. It may spill over into the monsoon session, and then who knows, there might even be challenges in court. is that sending out a disturbing and discomforting message to potential investors? A quick answer.
It would, but I think that the government has its own, I think the Lok Sabha views enough. This is a point made by the Lok Sabha Secretary General, the former Secretary General on your show last night. I would go with him that it seems to be a done deal. The fat lady needs to sing, but I think it's done.
But the fat lady will be singing and the tune will be appealing to investors when they hear her voice.
I hope so.
All right, on that note, we've become terribly colourful, but thank you for putting it so succinctly. My thanks to you for coming to the studio. My thanks also to Mr. Goyal, Mr. Chacko and Mr. Raja for joining me from their respective offices. Goodbye, good night, see you tomorrow.